What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Saved for More. I am Luke Goodish, as always, and today we have another Lessons of L'Amour video. If you are yet to see my Lessons of L'Amour video on Hondo, I highly recommend checking that out. It's what Hondo says about like the nuclear family, and I'm proud of that video. It's probably my favorite video that I've ever done on the channel. So check it out if you haven't seen it. Today's lesson is drawn from two novels, one being Lando by Louis L'Amour and one being Yondering by Louis L'Amour. This is the one I'm currently reading. It's like a novelization of his time as a young man becoming a writer and aspiring to be a writer. Jumping right into it, let's look at this first quote to explore the theme of this lesson and what we're going to be talking about. So Louis L'Amour says here, when the hero is gone, man himself will be gone, for the hero is our future, our destiny. If you know anything about Louis L'Amour at all, you know that he wrote a lot of Westerns. He wrote a lot about those heroic figures of the West. Think John Wayne, Clint Eastwood, those types of archetypes and that type of idea of Western heroism. And you could tell this a lot in Yonder. You can tell how important Louis L'Amour thought the idea of heroism and being a hero, how important he saw that as a part of the male's psyche, a part of the human psyche. That is the idea. That is the core of this lesson in its entirety, is that we need to see ourselves as the heroes of our story, right? I think you've heard this quote around. It was kind of popular like a year or so ago about like, you're the main character in your story. Now you need to act as if you are the main character. Seeing yourself as the hero is seeing yourself as someone who's capable, as somebody who can become more and actually has a destiny, a path, and a battle. Louis L'Amour also speaks to the other end of this dichotomy when he says that cynicism is ever the outward face of emptiness. That shows the general contrast, right? When we're the hero, we have a future, we have a destiny, we have lands to conquer. We are those cowboys setting off to find new land. We are voyaging and adventuring towards hope. But emptiness and barren lands and the idea of like nihilism and fatalism, those are the opposites. That's when you don't see yourself as the hero. That's when you see yourself as just a speck of sand on the beach. You don't see yourself as the hero. Life becomes kind of meaningless, kind of purposeless. So this idea of a man's image of himself as a hero is what we're going to be discussing. I find this quite important to discuss because, you know, I think a lot of individuals, we have people, we're looking out and we're looking up to a lot of individuals, and we're seeing what great things they did. I mean, even me with Louis L'Amour, I'm looking out at his career and I'm looking back and I'm saying, you know, like what an inspiring figure, and I am getting inspired. But it's easy for us to sell ourselves short and sort of lower ourselves a level where we don't see ourselves as a contemporary. We're like, I'm a writer. I am technically a contemporary of Louis L'Amour if I write in the same kind of genre, and I want to put stories like that. Like, we should be comparable. Now, I'm not saying my skill is on Louis L'Amour's skill level, but as far as belief in oneself as the hero, it's kind of the ideology of, have you ever heard Aubrey Marcus discuss when he gets the question asked about Onnit, if he thought Onnit was going to become what it became, how big and how popular and how much money? Like, did he see that? Is that what he thought was going to happen? And he's like, well, it might sound arrogant when people say, you know, if I were to just say, yes, I knew this all along. But why would I have put so much time and energy and effort, and why would this have been my life's goal if I didn't believe in it to go that far? And we need to look and take that philosophy and take Louis' philosophy of being the hero into our own hearts and say, you know, if I don't believe in myself, then who is going to? And what life do I have to live? What adventure is out there for me to take? There's none if I don't believe in myself, if I don't have a belief. It's that Rocky quote I've said here a million times. Until you start believing yourself, you're not going to have a life. Until you start believing in yourself, you are not going to have a life. And he gets that. He gets the idea of how important it is to find this belief in this image of you as the hero. So let's dive a little bit further. Here's a story of an individual who had a self-image of themselves as the hero for a bit of time, and then financial ruin comes, and some hard circumstances fall upon this individual that take down brick by brick the establishment of his ego and his barrier between himself and his doubt, which is how Louis L'Amour described it, which was awesome. And once that tower of defense and that heroic armor was torn down, and it was just him and his self-doubt, Louis saw this man, and he saw the crushed spirit of him, and he said this: "It is a terrible thing to see a man's belief in himself crumble. For when one loses faith in one's own illusion, there is nothing left." Now such a powerful quote, and it goes right hand in hand with that last quote we heard about being a hero. That's our destiny. Without it, we have no future. We have nothing. That's the end of man himself. And that's what he's saying here, and that's what you're seeing here. When this man is broken down to the point where he no longer believes in his own illusion of himself, then there's nothing left. There's only a broken man who's killing time. He's not living the adventure. He's not out there on the path. Now, this might be the most important quote I'm going to discuss in this video, and this is where the actionable step will come into play at the end. I always do a call to action now. I will give you a call to action to take off the computer screen into the real world so that you can actually cultivate yourself into a better man out there in reality, not just here on the internet. And this actionable step will come from this quote. I think this is the most powerful quote because of one word choice that's very important and very telling. He says, when one loses faith in one's own illusion. So it's even the admission that it's an illusion, it's an idea, it's a concept, it's an image, it's an archetype that we are holding up. It's not truly who we are. Even it doesn't have to be who we are. It's a belief, a hope, and a lighthouse out there for us to reach for, to strive for. It's the archetypal father. It's the steersman. It's these concepts I talk about here on the channel. It's never going to be fully realized that we are the men that we hope to be, right? The men that we even look up to, and this is what we'll get to on the third point. Even those men that we think are the men, that they have it figured out, and these are the pinnacles, like even the greatest men you can think of. Even when you look at the world's greatest men, right? Whoever that is to you, like your father or Teddy Roosevelt or whoever, is your just picture of, whoa, they did it. They were living off an illusion, and what you're seeing is an illusion, but we have to buy into that illusion. We have to buy that concept and be okay with that concept, and make it a part of who we are, because without it, we have no hope. We have no future. It's essentially a belief in the optimism of what can be. It's a hope for more. This comes right in line with a topic I've discussed on the channel, and perhaps is worth discussing more further at a different time. But the ideal self, right? We have this feared self, which is your laziness, your hedonism, all that stuff taking over and bringing your life down to a worst possible form. But the ideal version of you, the ideal self, is all of the best bits of you. It's all of your patience, your discipline, your motivation. It's everything great that you can be, manifesting itself into your best version. That ideal, that hero, that self-image, that illusion. So you have to become aware of and very intimate with your ideal self. You have to get that image down pat. You have to understand what it is you are looking to become and get out of life. This is where, if you do want to work with me one-on-one, it's another avenue that I take people down in the self-discovery. And if you watch the Becoming More series, I talk about how important it is to not only know your core values, but to really understand and the development of the self-image that you want, and the idea of who you are, and who you want to be seen as. Because ultimately, it's all going to be an illusion, right? We are going to be inconsistent because we're humans. Not every day will you live in that ideal self world, but you have to believe in the hero. You have to see yourself as that hero, and you have to be fighting for that journey that you're on. And this brings us to the last quote, and this one comes from Lando. Now, Orlando Sackett is the main character right here, and his father is a character in one of the other Louis L'Amour novels, I believe. And either way, he is a Louis L'Amour style heroic badass, right? The father of Orlando Sackett. Um, Orlando Sackett's father is in his mind this great archetypal figure, this illusion of a hero, right? This amazing um, thing to aspire to towards, an amazing individual to aspire towards. And we get a look at the inner dialogue of Orlando when he starts to piece together the idea that his father is more than just this archetypal being, and this figurehead of ultimate masculinity and badassery. When he puts the idea in his head, whoa, he was just a guy like me. He was just a human male like me. So with that said, let's listen to this last quote here. Yet day by day, Paul was now becoming more real to me than he had ever been. And I got to wondering if he ever doubted himself like I did, if he ever felt short of what he wished to be, if he ever longed for things beyond him that he couldn't quite put into words. In this quote, man, I dog-eared it and I took it to my counselor this week when I had counseling. And I read that out loud to him and talked with him about it because I've talked about it on the channel, but as a kid growing up, and as like a young man all throughout until like sophomore year of undergrad, I had a very hard time finding belief in myself and finding the hero within me. For me, I just saw my dad as that figure, just um, without flaw, without struggle, without doubt, and without um, that same insecurity and questioning mind that I had. And I think a lot of us do this, whether it is with your real dad or whoever you're looking up to. I think we diminish and downplay the reality and humanity of our heroes. We see them as the illusion and nothing more than the illusion and the image. We forget that they are just as human as us. And in that, if we were to remember that, we would hit that universality, that all individuals out there feel this struggle. I talked about that recently on the channel. Um, this is something that is not, you do not corner the market on insecurity. You do not corner the market on self-doubt and shame and guilt and not feeling like you're enough. You do not corner the market there. Everybody out there feels the same way. And that idea hit me hard where Lando is he's a hero in a Louis L'Amour novel, but he himself didn't feel that way. This the first half of the novel. You see him self-doubt and criticize himself and feel like he's got nothing to offer, nothing that he can, that there's nothing that he can do to be a hero. But you start to see that shift throughout this novel where he sees, his dad was the same way. His dad was a hero. He's looking up to a hero in a Louis L'Amour novel, just like he's a hero in a Louis L'Amour novel. But it's that belief, it's that idea, it's the identity. Before we go, let me give you the call to action today. On Mondays, we do a call to action for the mind. Today's call to action is really going to help build the mindset of the hero, build that internal hero within yourself so that you can live from a place that has a lot of self-belief. So today's call to action is simply this. I want you to, in some way, shape or form, whether you write it down, like I always say, you could write it, you could just think about it, you could talk about it with a friend, however you want to go about it. I want you to contemplate the idea of your obituary. Now, you can simply write your obituary. That is a writing prompt that I'm sure you've heard of that is very helpful to actually genuinely take a look at, if you died, what would be said about you. But you can also take this in a different way. This is how I want to take it myself, is I want to not necessarily put a person to this, but the idea of two individuals having a conversation where I get brought up and one individual sort of explains who I was. That's how I'm going to be doing this one. But I want to write that idea of like, what is going to be said about me when I'm gone? After I've passed on, what would my life have left as far as an imprint on individuals that have met me and have known me? All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. If you would like to give me a thumbs up or a comment or sharing the video, that all really does help, and I appreciate it. If you want to work with me one-on-one, links in the description. Also, if you want some badass mental health clothing, I sell it. I sell really awesome shirts and mugs and all kinds of stuff like that. Um, so stay tuned for more designs actually coming soon. Right now, there's been a little bit of a slow halt on a lot of my different services and things outside of just the videos because I'm in my very last semester of school and I am studying very hard for my comprehensive exam. So I've just been a little bit swamped with those priorities. But it's all coming back up and into gear as soon as I take that test at the end of March. So anyway, guys, I will see you in the next one. I'll see you on Wednesday where we will have a video and a call to action for the body. So stay tuned, stay active, and stay working towards that hero that you want to be.